Good morning, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my plant overhaul. Part 1 was showing you my mess of my dining room and living room, and this was one of the areas that I wanted to redo, and I did get that completed over the weekend. This area here, I had my begonia table, and fortunately, or unfortunately, I guess how you want to look at it, they outgrew their space, and that makes me really sad because I purposely, you guys might remember, I had them in the dining room and I had my begonia corner, but I didn't get to enjoy them as much as I wanted to, and so I brought them out here in the living room and I put them on this table, but they just grew up and they were just like packed in there, and that's, you know, it might be good for the plants as far as humidity and things like that, but it's really not healthy when it comes to different types of pests like spider mites and things like that. And it just, I wasn't able to really appreciate the beauty of each plant. They were really kind of overlapping and crunching into each other, and it just was a mess. So I got those out of here. Those are they're actually on my dining room table and my kitchen counter right now because I want to go through them all, and some of them need repotting, and then I will be putting them back in my dining room. But in the meantime, I wanted to bring you this video. This is the southwest corner of my living room, west being where the window is, and I've moved things around in here quite a bit in the last year, mostly because I've had so much growth. One of the things that really grew out a lot is my my monstera. Let me get a closer look at. You can see. Oh, darn, that backlighting. Okay, I think you can see it good enough though that you can tell how huge those leaves. That top leaf there is probably about 3-4 inches bigger than my head is round. It's huge. And they're not getting direct light. The only direct sunlight that they get is in very late afternoon. And actually, they're not even getting that now. That was during the summer months between 4 and 6 o'clock, or 5 and 7, around in there. They would get a couple hours of somewhat diffused light because all the trees outside, and you cannot see that, but across the street we've got trees that got to be 80 feet, 100 feet tall, and when the sun comes around that end, it's behind those trees. So that was in the way, and then we have our big ferns, which are still pretty green out there, amazingly, and then the roof over the porch. So not a lot of natural light coming in here, but enough, I guess, that it made a difference. One of these plants I got from my friend Susie. That's this one. And I had that in under 3 LED lights, and it wasn't doing anything. It was growing, but it wasn't getting the fenestrations, and it just didn't look all that great. So I moved that over here, and that too has improved. So I think it might be a combination of a little bit of natural light coming in through the window, in addition to the humidity in this corner is much greater than where I had it. So I think those two things probably helped. This plant that you see behind here, kind of sad looking, I don't even know the name of it. I do. I gotta go look at it. My friend looked it up for me and I wrote it down. This is a plant that she texted me and showed me, and there was a man standing next to it, and this was like a few feet above his head, and I said, oh my gosh, I gotta have that. So we both ordered it at the same time. I got mine, and my poor friend never did get one. They were out. So I thought about actually sending this one to her, but it's in such bad shape, and I'm not sure why. I don't know what is wrong with it. It doesn't have any bugs. It's not a pest problem. It's an atmospheric problem or watering problem, which I will figure out eventually. But I mean, it did get a new leaf on it, so It's got another one starting at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that down there. So it is growing, but I don't know. It's a sadness. Okay. And then down in the, way down in the bottom there, I've got my, my cactus, dragon fruit cactus. And that's growing like crazy too. It likes it down there. And then here, I have my little bench that I got last year. I just love this. In this little terracotta pot. The problem is the opening isn't very big. And I'm not sure if I did a video on that or not, but I ended up taking a water bottle and I cut off the top and I squeezed it and put it inside. And I filled it with soil. And I stuck the roots in, and this plant just took off. So, and I don't want to put any soil in the pot because I don't want to ruin it. I'm so in love with it. It's actually, it's a clay pot. I call it terracotta because it feels like a terracotta, but it's really a very soft clay. And she's so cute. I just love her on that little bench. Alright, then moving to the right. Underneath here I have my purple waffle, which I had some issues with that. And let me just say up front, I had a lot of issues with a lot of plants because of my accident and the weeks following. It wasn't, I was in the hospital for 5 days, but it wasn't just that time. It was the weeks and even a month or two following, trying to get my watering down pat again. And you know, I can have somebody standing there helping me, but it's just not the same. You have a feel for your plants, how much water they want, and when the person helping you puts water in, they don't know how much is too much or how much isn't enough. So that's really what went on here. And in that process, I lost a couple plants, and I am nursing back to life a few others. And this is one of them. I had this one in the dining room, and the foliage on here was growing down about a foot, maybe a little better, down the side of it. It was gorgeous. But it got forgotten, so a lot of it dried up, and I had to cut it off. So now I moved it in here and gave it some new soil and some new life, so I'm sure it'll come back. But that, you're going to hear that a lot from me, and I just don't want to keep bringing up and repeating my woes. So just know that when I have plant problems, that's where they're from. But I am very grateful to be able to use both my arms again and be able to do what I have to do for my plant babies, because that just, there's nothing worse than to to know what needs to be done and not be able to do it. It's a very, very frightening feeling, actually. So I'm so grateful that I'm able to do this again and be on my plants on a daily basis like I used to be. Okay, so enough of my yakking again. I just wanted you to hear that story in case you have never seen any of my videos, because I don't want you to get at the end of my videos and say, my goodness, she's really got a lot of plant issues. Because normally I don't, but that is why I do now, so now you know. Okay, and then this table is where I had my begonias. Now you'll notice the humidity is only 50. It was 49 an hour ago. It's going up a little bit, but we had a lot of wind these last 2 days. We have trees down. I had my wooden birdhouse was knocked down and broken. I had something fall on the roof one night when I was sleeping. It turned out to be a huge tree branch. And just a lot of wind damage here in Wisconsin over the last 2 days. And I think that wind dried up everything, and inside and out, and it created a lower humidity. I do have a little baby humidifier tucked back in there for winter, which I am going to probably start up again here today. just because I want to give my plants their optimal conditions that they're used to. And it was so humid in here all summer. Even with the air on, there were days when I couldn't get that humidity down under 75% with my AC on. And I kept it pretty cool in here. So they're used to a higher humidity now, so I'm probably going to have to start using that humidifier. But let me go through the rest of these plants, and then I'm going to be bringing you a part 3 and possibly a part 4 to get this all in. Okay. In the window, you can see there's several plants over there. Let me get closer. This is my Tradescantia baby bunny bellies. And she grows very, very well in this window. She loves this window. As you can see, her growth goes almost down to the floor. Oh, I think one is hitting the floor. I've taken several cuttings from these, and I'll be taking more because it's a very rewarding plant. It's beautiful, it grows well, and the leaves on her are so soft, and I just love her. And then next to that is one of my string of pearls. She's doing very well. Let me get this light out of my way. As you can see, she's got a lot of growth up there. And I know I've seen a few videos. I just saw one recently. I wish I could remember whose it was. I meant to comment to her, but she probably has gotten the answers she's needed by now. And she said she's really bad at any string of anything. Well, I'm not real great at the string plants either, but I do seem to have pretty good luck with string of pearls. I have another one of those in my dining room. And the key I found, at least with the string of pearls, is you need to keep light on the top of this pot. The soil needs the bright light. The strings do too, but the most important thing on this plant is to keep bright light up here and keep it kind of moist. You don't want to overwater it because they get overwatered easily, but you don't want it to completely dry out. It won't die if it dries out at the top, as long as you catch it in time. But there's a very fine line between catching it in time and, oops, too late, the roots are dried up and they're not going to take up any more water. So I just feel this almost every day, so I kind of know when it's starting to dry out, and that gives me a good idea of when I have to water it again. And then up here is my orchid cactus, and she's growing really well too. I've got a few hard to reach up here for me right now, but I think you can see it. She's got some, she's growing nicely. This white pole that's in here is a PVC pipe, and I apologize for the way it looks. I hate the way it looks. I want it out of here, but it's all I had, and I didn't have anything to cover it with when this plant arrived, and I needed to stake it to something. So until I can get my husband to give me a hand with that, it's just gonna be there, and it's an eyesore for me. I hate it, but he's working on other stuff for me. And then this thing I have to remember to tell him to take down. It's not doing much good in here anymore. I really don't have a fungus gnat issue. Once in a great while I will see a single fungus gnat, but it's usually, I'll see one and then I won't see anything for a few weeks. So it's not an issue anymore for me. But he put this up here a long time ago, and I keep forgetting to ask him to take. I hate these. They look stinky to me. They remind me of a old stinky bar or something. It's just ew. But they do work, folks. I got another one in my bathroom, and that's covered. So, and that's because I keep the light on in there at night, even when all the other lights are off in the house, so that attracts them. So they do work. Okay, what next? My sad string of hearts. And I received this from a friend as well. Oh, I'll have to untangle that later. This is from Pam, from Pam's Planty Things. She sent this to me last year, and I have been struggling to get this thing to grow. It hasn't died, thank goodness, but it's not doing well, and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong with that. So, Pammy, if you're watching this and you got any words of wisdom, please feel free to leave them in my comment section, because I don't want to lose this plant. Alright. Alright, finishing up on this table, back in this corner, I've got my philodendron dubium. This was a gift from Suzette, from Suzette's Gardens. And when I first got it, it was, I think, one leaf. It was a cutting. And I can't remember if it had roots on it or not, but it almost died. It almost didn't make it. And I think it's just because of the length of time that it was in the mail, and that was the summer, and that was, it was a very, very hot period of time. And a number of the plants that I got were very stressed. But with lots of loving care and affection, I got them back. They're growing well. Tiny, but they're growing well. Very healthy. It's very healthy. And then here, this is my Frizzle Sizzle. I got this from Steve's Leaves quite a while ago. And this is one of them that got neglected. This should be a lot bigger than it is right now. And it should have a lot of sizzles on the top. The curly tops. They actually kind of twist at the top, but I wasn't able to get to it, so I had to cut off the dried off tips, and I had to repot her. She was very pot bound, but I think she's going to be okay too. And then next to that is my, well, we've got several. We've got my Hawaiian wedding wreath, and I forget the botanical name of this. Let me see what it says here. Stephanotis floribunda Madagascar jasmine. And actually, I got this from Logi's. And I saw this in full bloom, and I just fell in love. This is going to be beautiful. My husband made the wire wreath for it to go around, and the leaves are starting to get really big on it, and they're very healthy. They're leather-like. And then when it gets mature, it's going to sprout out these clusters of little white dainty flowers, and I cannot wait till that happens. I had this up here with my begonias, and this part was grown all through my begonias, and I didn't even notice it. It was a challenge getting it untangled, but I did do it without harming either plant, and wrapped it back around the wire. Okay, and then this is my philodendron Bloody Mary. I love the color of these leaves. I cannot wait until this plant gets bigger. That plant is really, really exciting for me as well. And I got that also as a cutting from Suzette. She sent me a whole box of stuff. She and I have been very good friends for a long time, so she does nice things for me, and I try to return the favor, although I don't have half as much to give her as she does to me, but she doesn't do it for that reason. She's just a very kind person and a very giving person. Okay, this plant here is my ginseng, and this one is growing great. I'm very excited about this. See if I can get a better shot of that for you. It's all the way back. But she's gorgeous and growing beautifully. All right. And then on this side we have these lights that my husband built into this plant stand that you're looking at, and they're movable, which is very nice because I can put them wherever I happen to need them for a while. And they're in these little holes here, so I love that. Okay, so now we've got the rattlesnake calathea up here, and I can see both sides of the leaves, but I actually prefer the back sides. I love that color, and it likes being up there, so we're both happy. And she's got lots of room to grow. And then we've got the the Maranta Lemon Lime. She was acting up a little bit on me too, and I'm not sure why, but she's getting better now. She's still got a couple curled leaves, but she's doing much, much better than she was, so I'm glad about that. And then we've got a few other calatheas down here. We've got the ornata, or the pinstripe. And this plant, unfortunately, had spider mites not too long ago, and I ended up using my alcohol spray on her, and I burned her leaves. And I felt so bad about that. These plants are a little bit touchy, and you got to be careful what kind of chemicals and things you put on them. But I was so petrified that that was going to spread to my other plants, so at that point I didn't care. It's like I gotta get rid of these. And it was covered. The whole backside was covered in like white dust, spider mites, and none of the other plants had it, so that's very weird. And then we have two other types back here, and I always forget the name of these. And some of these look very much like each other, so I do have a tag in here, good. Macatina, it looks like. Macatina, or that's this one. And there's a couple that look a lot like this, but she's fine. And I forget the name of this one. But anyway, then this is my wax ivy that came in that last batch of plants that were not doing well. They were all it was so wet in there that they were just they kind of fell apart. And so I cut all the wet stuff off. I stuck this in soil. It only had like 2 or 3 little teeny tiny pieces of green. And that was just, I think, like 2 weeks ago. And look at it now. I mean, this thing is literally growing like a weed. So I'm excited about that. And then there is my white fusion that you may have all seen that video. She too had spider mites, and she was all droopy down and looked half dead, but she's doing very well now. She looks really good. So I'm excited about that. That's my White Fusion Calathea. And then we have my watermelon peperomia. She's growing like a weed all of a sudden too. Very happy about that. I love this plant. And she's kind of fussy, so. And then down here I've got my Triostar Stromanthe, the red one, and she's doing great. And next to that, I believe this is a Lubercii, I think it's called. And that one is not doing real well. I had it in a different place, and I think it was getting too much heat blowing on it from the heat register, so I moved it over here, and I just did that yesterday. But I think she's going to be okay. Alright. Well, and that's about it, with the exception of this last plant here behind here. My zebra. I mean my ZZ. My ZZ plant, and she's doing very well. My kids. My little elephant that my little grandson glued and painted. He got it from the dollar store. That was just plain wood, and he painted the parts and glued it together. So cute. And then of course, my air plant that my granddaughter gave me a long time ago. So, I think that's about it as far as what I wanted to show you for today. My piano is clean and shiny again. I was able to get back there over the weekend and take everything off and clean it and dust polish the piano, and that's such a job now for me. But I did get it done, and I feel good about that. So that's it. That was my whole weekend job here, but you know, it's what used to take me an hour or two now takes me a day or two, but that's okay. As long as I have a day or two, what else have I got to worry about? You know, just it'll get done eventually. So that's that. Now I'm going to be bringing to you like I said, at least one more video, probably two actually. I've got the one behind my sofa. My husband is still working on that. I ordered a Mars Hydrolite, and he's making a fixture for it so that I can actually move it around, and it'll be on a hard, similar to these, where I can move it up and down and sideways and have flexibility with it. And we had to do that because our ceilings are really, really high, and to climb up there to put hooks in, it would have been too much. So he decided to make a bracket to hang it on, and he's working on it. He's probably about halfway done. And once he gets that done, then I can move my plants from my dining room table into my living room, and I will be doing a video on that corner, and also a full plant tour of my dining room soon. It's coming. Some of you have been hearing me say that for months and months, but I wasn't counting on taking a fall either, so that really put me behind. But just hang in there with me, folks. I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna continue to bring you videos and as best I can. And in the meantime, I hope you all are well. I hope you're all weathering the storm here in our country, and I hope you're all okay. So You all have a good day, what's left of it, and I will be back. Bye now.